to see thee. Bring me little water now. Bring me little water to see thee. Every little once in a while. Where do you go, little bird, when it snows, when it snows, when the in a long time ago, I left my home for a job behind the fruit trees, but I miss those hills and the windy.
In little boy ways, I knew that life had given Aunt Rita an extra helping of heart. My mother, Aunt Rita's sister, said that God loves us and gives us problems to make us strong. A blessing of sorts. I pondered that and I trusted my mother. And so I thought maybe it was so for Aunt Rita. I watched her as she went about her life with Uncle Vaughn on the farm by the Strawberry River. I imagined that her load might have been lighter if she'd known God loved her and had given her the cleft palate, they called it a hair lip, as a present. I wondered whether she knew that. Back then nobody spoke of such things. Life was just the way it was.
Bring me little water to see thee. Bring me little water now. Bring me little water to see thee. Every little once in a while.
A man and a woman should be together, I thought, like Aunt Rita and Uncle Vaughn, working in that cornfield side by side. But also I wondered whether her load might have also been lighter if he told her out loud even once, I love you. I could see her search his eyes sometimes as she carried her extra helping of heart. She'd heard the phrase or read it somewhere, heartfelt feelings. She pondered, did he have heartfelt feelings? Did this silent man feel in his heart? When he did speak, he spoke of the weather, the river rising, the tractor, the old horse Whitey, maybe even of last Saturday night. He spoke slowly, steadily. He was seldom caught in emotion. Heartfelt feelings had no place in their fight to survive. Who could dare speak them? And who would dare even to listen? The river rising gave no place for tender mercies.
That someday it would end. Get up and go outside. Don't let the old man in. Many months I have lived.
I wondered and hoped for my Aunt Rita. Her eyes might have sparkled, maybe even lit up that cornfield those 60 years side by side, if he told her. I wanted her eyes to sparkle. 3 words. I imagined him saying them, sort of coughing them, pushing out the things he'd held inside for all those years. Say it, old man, I thought. Before it's too late. Find it. Speak it out of you. The world is not made of all hard things, Uncle Vaughn, of iron. The world can be softer. But he didn't. And she might have wondered for 60 years, never knowing for sure, with any certainty, of her place in the heart of this silent man. But still, it comforted me some to see them working. Something about them being together, side by side, out in their cornfield. I sensed something. I didn't know the word back then, but the word was noble. The old king and his wife, the queen. But I also wondered whether Uncle Vaughn really loved Aunt Rita.
I wished I was smarter. I wished I was stronger. I wished I loved Jesus the way my wife does.
One day he had a heart attack out in the field. Coming up on supper time, she got in a car and drove out to where he was working. She found him lying unconscious. He turned blue and he was near death. She carried him on her back 200 yards to the car. He'd have no doctor, no hospital. She begged, but he wouldn't hear of it. She was sure as the sun was coming up that he was going to die. He drank a bottle of whiskey and lay in bed for 3 days. Once, during those long recuperating days, while she brought him soup and crackers and water to drink, his eyes were unguarded, and he had a wide smile. In that instant, their eyes locked, and in that instant, when his eyes spoke his affection to Rita, she saw and she heard. She saw gratitude and maybe even love. Her knees almost buckled and she floated for a minute with the thought. Her eyes sparkled. Then he went back to work in the field. They never spoke of it.
Living on the road, my friend, is gonna keep you free and clean. Now you wear your skin like iron, your breath as hard as kerosene.
Uncle Vaughn passed away from his life in the field, and Aunt Rita lived on with her memory. She cradled that moment in her heart, pure as a lily. And those 60 years, it seemed to her, were fairly well summed up as a single moment. And then God was kind to Aunt Rita again, and she went to meet Uncle Vaughn. Sometimes I think, no doubt he's told her, finally free of fear and his core of iron, no doubt he's spoken his love. And then I wonder, did he really? Did my uncle, the dusty old farmer, ever really surrender? Did he say it?
And a baby cries high above you.
Shortly after Aunt Rita passed away, someone who knew her well said, at midnight, when there was no moon and it was so very dark, the very darkest of night, I saw a sparkling, twinkling light in the cornfield. I was born in Provo, Utah on September 16, 1904, the third child and second son of Charles Wilford Lott and Mary Jane Gillespie. My mother died on the 19th of December 1905 when I was 15 months old, and my brother Jim and I went to live with our grandfather and grandmother Lott. Our sister Golda went on to live with grandfather and grandmother Gillespie. On the 12th of November 1907, Dad remarried. After Dad and Myrtle were married, they settled down over in Eureka. I still remember the day the old folks took me there in the wagon and left me. They gave me a bunch of toys to play with, and when I was busy playing, they slipped away. When I looked around and missed them, I remember running out of the house crying and then running down the road after the wagon. Years later, I told Grandmother Lott that I remembered crying when she left me that day, and she said, "Bonnie, you weren't crying any harder than I was."